Reaction continuing to pour in following the felony conviction of former President Donald Trump.
The Trump team now preparing to appeal as we start to get a sense of the legal fallout of Donald Trump's conviction.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us now from Washington and has how critics are reacting to the guilty verdict.
Donald Trump's felony conviction in Manhattan. Justice served or a kangaroo court? It depends who you ask.
I feel it's such a sweet vindication of the rule of law.
There's a lot that's happened over the past year that I think that Americans should look very hard at.
Critics taking issue with the charges themselves. Misdemeanors. DA Alvin Bragg ramped up to felonies.
There's no crime here. Nobody can figure out what the actual crime is.
And the judge, who the defense argues should have recused himself due to a conflict of interest with his daughter's company. But he didn't, and often ruled in the prosecution's favor.
He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything.
Leading to allegations this is Democrats weaponizing the justice system against a Republican presidential candidate.
I woke up heartbroken for our country because the precedent set is that if you don't like somebody's politics, you should use the American system of law and order to try and destroy them. That's 250 years of legal tradition. The Biden folks are tearing it up to win an election, Wolf. That is what really bothers me.
On the other side, Democrats say this shows no one, not even presidents, are above the law.
I think we can feel proud that the system of justice and the rule of law within liberal democracy has survived.
Never Trump former Republicans agree.
This wasn't masterminded by Joe Biden. It's not the deep state. They were just a jury of Donald Trump's peers in New York looked at the evidence of the crimes he committed and found him guilty.
But some worry about the precedent just set.
We're going to see retaliation. We're going to see local DAs around the country start to indict Democrats and get local juries to do tit for tat.
House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan now demanding Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg testify about Trump's prosecution before Congress on June 13th. On Capitol Hill, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
We're also getting reaction to the verdict from House Speaker Mike Johnson and Congressman Mike Turner, both in the Miami Valley today, taking part in a national security briefing at the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. Now, they also took time to reassure Americans that the work being done at NASIC and RightPath is essential to keeping our nation safe and secure, especially from cyber attacks. Now, here's what they had to say about the Trump verdict.
What I'm concerned about ultimately is the greater threat that we are diminishing the American people's faith in our system of justice itself. When they see that our court system can be used for political purposes and not legal ones, that's a very dangerous trend.
The only reason why President Trump was charged and even was facing this criminal courtroom is because he's a candidate for President of the United States. They want to beat him in the courtroom. This was not about Stormy Daniels. This is not how our country should handle democracy. This is a battle now for the soul of our country.
Congressman Turner will be back in Dayton next week for a conference on NATO.
President Biden will be on the ballot here in Ohio. The Senate approved a legal fix this afternoon. Senators also approved a ban on foreign nationals' contributions to statewide ballot campaigns. The only Republican dissent predicted the law will be overturned in court because it includes green card holders. Democrats say the bill was never about foreign nationals.
We've all known all along that this bill is not just for banning foreign money. It is for basically taking away rights of people to ballot issues.
Democrats also challenged giving enforcement responsibilities to the Ohio Attorney General, a partisan politician possibly with their own interests at stake. However, Republicans say the office's experience and expertise is needed to weed out foreign campaign cash.
Inherently, we're dealing with what will be an international white-collar scheme to get this money into the state of Ohio.
Governor Mike DeWine has pledged to sign the bills likely over the weekend.
School districts across the Miami Valley and the state now adding or revising their cell phone use policies. That's after a new law was signed. Governor Mike DeWine to have one in place that limits cell phone use during school hours. Gwyneth Falloon joining us now in studio live. I know you spoke with a few districts today. What are they saying about this?
Well, many districts actually already have some sort of policy in effect, whether that's using a locked pouch or just restricting use to outside of class time. So this isn't something entirely new, but this here is actually the model policy state leaders are suggesting. They are recommending cell phone use to be restricted entirely during the school day, but districts are not required to follow that. Ohio House Bill 250 just weeks away from taking effect, requiring all school districts in the state to have a cell phone use policy.
We're pleased that the governor and the rest of the legislators have put together House Bill 250.
Dayton Public Schools Superintendent Dr. David Lawrence joining many other educators like Fairborn City School Superintendent Gene Lawley in support of the legislation.
It helps put more teeth. It enforces it a lot more.
However, many districts, including both Dayton Public and Fairborn, already had something in place long before it was mandated.
We moved to the pouch situation, and where they have to lock it up, put it in that pouch, lock it out all day, and then at the end of the day they unlock it.
Dayton Public also tried pouches in one school, but will likely move to what the remaining 9 middle and high schools do: keep them in the office.
They put them in envelopes and then hold them until the end of the day and then give them back.
Each says they've seen positive results, not just in more engaged learning, but discipline and social emotional issues too.
It was really amazing at lunchtime, students were talking to one another.
We've seen a significant reduction in cyberbullying. I mean, you just can't send things to folks during the middle of the day. And if something's sent to you the night before, you can't respond to it because you don't have your phone.
But despite what some districts see as unmatched benefits, there was still pushback from students and families.
One of the cons to students were, hey, what if I have to call my mother? And we said, essentially, phones are in the office or in every classroom.
However, districts may be making changes to their policies in the coming weeks based on what the state is recommending and what they've seen firsthand, with the goal of making students' learning experience the best it can be.
The room for improvement for us is the speed in which we go through this process in the morning and in the afternoon when we give the phones back.
Technology can be very, very good, as we all know, but sometimes it can be a detriment.
Kettering and Centerville, they are among the other local districts with policies already in place. But again, all districts must have something by July 1st. Back to you.
We now know tonight this Dayton man is behind bars in connection to a theft earlier this month. Butler County Sheriff says 21-year-old Damone Matson was arrested near Germantown Pike for allegedly stealing multiple items from Dick's Sporting Goods. The sheriff says Matson had a gun and stolen merchandise at the time of his arrest. It is believed he's involved in other thefts from Liberty Center as well. More charges could be coming soon.
A former Dayton police sergeant will now spend 3 years on probation. Former police sergeant Joseph Setti sentenced yesterday for unlawful restraint and disorderly conduct involving 3 victims. Now, Setti is ordered to have no contact with those victims and pay court fees. He was relieved of duty when the allegations surfaced back in March of last year.
A live look here behind me tonight. We're at the Miami Valley Jail's website as this man is now behind bars for illegal gambling. This is 29-year-old Mayur Patel. He was taken into custody after a money laundering investigation conducted by multiple agencies. Police say they discovered more than $200,000 in numerous gambling machines during a search warrant at the Internet Cafe on South Dixie Highway. Patel was charged with operating a gambling house, possessing criminal tools, and engaging in pattern of corrupt activity. He's currently in the Kettering jail.
All right, well, we made it to the weekend, so let's see what we got in store for us right now. It's pretty pleasant as we speak.
Yeah, you know what? Not too bad. And it's going to be a warmer night tonight compared to last night. We'll stay in the 50s. And then the weekend is looking pretty nice too, but we are tracking rain. So I'm going to time that out. But as far as what's going on right now, we're hanging out in the 60s. We got 62 in Dayton, 59 Troy, 59 up in Wapakoneta. So it is overall a fairly mild evening out there. Most of us, with the exception of Richmond, sitting warmer compared to this time yesterday. We're 6 degrees warmer in Springfield, 4 degrees warmer up in Wapakoneta. Cloud cover building in. We'll keep those temperatures up overnight with the low temperatures dropping into the 50s. And then heading into the day tomorrow, notice we'll see upper 70s and then rain chances increasing by the second half of the day tomorrow. So I'm going to time out that weekend forecast for you coming up here in just a bit.
Well, June, right around the corner, in fact, about an hour away. But Pride events, they are already here, where you can go to be authentically yourself in the Miami Valley after the break.
Our Eco Plumber Sky Cam tonight. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. June isn't here quite yet. We've got about 45 minutes, but Pride is. Dayton's Pride weekend began with tonight's Friday night affair on St. Clair. Jenna Lee Borg has been at the festivities all night long. And Jenna Lee, what was their kickoff Pride event like?
Tonight's Pride event was full of entertainment, food, and plenty of pride. Entertainment started with DJ Hill. As people came together to celebrate, you could feel what Pride was all about for so many.
We need to be unapologetically ourselves at all times.
Pride Month usually gets going in June, but Dayton got a head start tonight with its Friday night affair on St. Clair. The street was closed from 1st to 2nd Streets as people celebrated the LGBTQIA+ community. Food trucks lined the street and people could buy merchandise or get information from the multiple vendors on site. 2 food vendors from London, Ohio say this is their first time being at Dayton Pride.
So when we had the opportunity to do Dayton Pride, we had to hop on it. So this is like a fun atmosphere. Dayton's like slowly expanding more, especially with the festivals and the stuff that they're doing. So we're extremely excited to participate in this.
And just to get out a little bit more with the community as well, so that way we can kind of get to know more people.
Even though Pride events bring a festive spirit to the community with things like entertainment, there's also a meaningful element for those who attend. One attendee who had never been to a Pride event before spoke to me about what it means to be here.
It was definitely time for me to go out and celebrate with others and like truly not feel that paranoia and that anxiety that comes with being like a queer black man. I was really ready to not be afraid anymore, and like I've always been out, but like it's been one of those things to where you always move with caution.
People came out Friday to authentically express themselves, and Edwards summed up what Pride means to the community.
More about equality, bringing everyone together. That's pretty much what it is. Our food trucks are they're like not biased at all. We welcome everybody and anyone.
If you missed tonight, you could still show your pride throughout the weekend. The parade starts tomorrow at 11 o'clock, followed by the Pride Festival. You can get more information on our website at Dayton247now.com. Back to you in studio.
Well, Troy Strawberry Festival going on this weekend, and it's looking all right for it. We do have rain that we'll be tracking mainly in the second half of the day tomorrow. So we'll start it out fairly mild, upper 60s, upper 70s by the afternoon. Showers start to become possible by the early afternoon, but it really looks like a lot of the rain will hold off until the late afternoon and evening hours, with steady light to moderate rain possible for us. So keep that umbrella handy. Good news is not really anticipating thunderstorms with us, with cloud cover continuing to increase out ahead of our next weather maker that's making its way off to the west. So timing out tomorrow, we start out in the 50s. Here you can see by around 4 p.m. rain building in, give or take an hour or so. It could be a little bit earlier. And then that widespread rain through the evening. Rain begins to taper off early into the day on Sunday, followed by a calmer Sunday afternoon and evening. I'll have a look at what we're expecting into the rest of next week coming up.
President Joe Biden declaring Israel has a new roadmap for a new ceasefire proposal. Biden says the proposal has 3 phases. The first would last 6 weeks, including a ceasefire, withdrawal of IDF forces, and an exchange of American and Palestinian prisoners. Phase 2 would require negotiations, but would mark a permanent end to hostilities. The final phases involve a mass reconstruction plan for Gaza.
This is truly a decisive moment. Israel has made their proposal. Hamas says it wants a ceasefire. This deal is an opportunity to prove whether they really mean it. Hamas needs to take the deal.
President Biden claims Israel has devastated Hamas to the point that Hamas is no longer capable of reenacting an attack similar to October 7th. He says only a comprehensive ceasefire will bring hostages home and lead to lasting security.
The IDF says its forces are pushing deeper to operate in central Rafah despite international calls to scale back. The military says its troops found Hamas rocket launchers and tunnels in that area and dismantled a weapons storage facility. Israel's offensive in Rafah has displaced more than 1 million Palestinians, thrown humanitarian aid efforts off track. Israel argues they need to eliminate Hamas. Meanwhile, several other countries argue it's too devastating to civilians.
Well, the U.S. and Britain conducted another round of airstrikes targeting the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Thursday's strikes on the Houthis hit multiple sites, weapons, and even a vessel. The Houthis say the strikes killed at least 16 people and injured 35 others. This came as they carried out a series of missile attacks on ships in and around the Red Sea in response to the war in Gaza.
Ukraine and Russia also announcing their first prisoner exchange of the war in nearly 4 months. In a deal brokered by the United Arab Emirates, 75 Ukrainian prisoners returned from Russia, including 4 civilians. Ukraine returning 75 Russian prisoners to their country in exchange.
Now, Russian officials say they're willing to use tactical nukes against Ukraine if necessary. According to Russian leaders, the Kremlin is not bluffing or trying to intimidate when it makes such threats. This comes just after the White House gave Ukraine permission to target strategic locations inside Russia using U.S. weapons.
Over the past few weeks, Ukraine came to us and asked for the authorization to use weapons that we're providing to defend against this aggression, including against Russian forces that are massing on the Russian side of the border.
Now, Biden's decision applies only for counteracting purposes around the area being attacked. European officials have made a push for this policy change, with many arguing there's no way for Ukraine to defend itself otherwise.
Live look from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam over Beaver Creek tonight on this last evening of May. Let's check in with Natalie.
Well, not too bad out here on our Watson's weather patio after what has been a pretty beautiful day. It is getting a little cooler, but it's not going to be quite as cool as we were last night, thanks to clouds building in and eventually rain making its way in. So heading into our late Saturday, early Sunday, showers start to develop across the area, and we could potentially see some rainfall totals upwards of 1/4 of an inch, maybe a 1/2 inch of rainfall once this is all said and done with. And a lot of that rain will be for our Saturday night, tapering off early in today on Sunday. Of course, could see some smaller totals, especially off to the north, but it does look like a lot of the rain will be during the late evening Saturday and overnight Saturday night, with temperatures in the upper 70s both Saturday and Sunday. But heading into next week, we start to see those temperatures climb back into the 80s for us, but we also will be looking at scattered rain and storms back in the forecast as we head into next week as well. So I'll have a look at that forecast coming up.
Well, today is National Cancer Survivors Day. The Dayton VA celebrating those who fought through. Coming up, we'll hear from one of those survivors and what this event means to them.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. National Cancer Survivors Day is coming up, and the Dayton VA held its celebration earlier today. Eli Burgett had the chance to talk to both VA staff members and cancer survivors on the importance of the event.
Well, it was an eventful morning at the Dayton VA as today they celebrated National Cancer Survivors Day, which is this Sunday. There were many events that took place, including a walk for cancer earlier in the day. I got the chance to speak with several Dayton VA staff members as well as a few cancer survivors on what this event means to them.
Get all the support you can, and like I say, if there's a support group, if you've just been diagnosed, get to the first meeting you possibly can. Well worth it.
This morning, dozens of support organizations had the opportunity to present their information to patients who are still battling with their cancer diagnosis at the Dayton VA celebration of National Cancer Survivors Day. The mission behind this event was quite simple: to help patients see that they don't have to fight their diagnosis all on their own. If you would like to get involved, you can visit ncsd.org/supporters to learn how you can support the cause.
The people at this event have had such long and tough battles with cancer, and the Dayton VA is proud to honor them for the trials they go through on a daily basis. Back to you.
The Cincinnati Reds opening a weekend on the road in Chicago. Would the Reds stay perfect in the Windy City for the calendar year? You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.